Kessler's gone. I don't know.
Or quick dinner.
So Kim Wallace.
Are they right about the
Doesn't have to.
Recording in progress.
All right, welcome everyone. It's now about 6:32 p.m. and I'd like to call to order the Fenton. To please stand. Thank you.
Lorraine.
Present.
Present.
Krug is present. Kessler is absent. Gopal is absent. Tucker.
Present.
You have 5 members present.
All right, thanks, Bob. I'd also like to note for the record that our Township Attorney, Jack Belzer, Operations Manager, Tom Broker, our Fire Chief, Ryan Volz, our Zoning Administrator, Mike Deem, and our Township Assessor, Julia Wilson, are also present this evening. Additionally, the following Township officials are present via Zoom, and that's
Spectrum posted on the Fenton area. Phone muted until we reach portions of the meeting where public, including lake improvements and a water system improvement special assessment hearings. Township's website.
first business in order is the approval of the agenda. Entertain that motion.
Kick the short-term rental thing down the road, is it?
It's here.
I see that.
That's hearing your request. Motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Krug, will you please call the roll?
I vote yes. Kutrick.
Yes.
Kessler is absent.
Yes.
Lorraine.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, agenda stands approved as presented. Moving on to the next business in order is the meeting minutes. Included in the packet are the meeting minutes from the July 16th special meeting and the July 30th regular meeting. Are there any corrections or requested revisions to these meeting minutes? Hearing none, the meeting minutes stand approved as presented. Moving on to the invoices. All right, hearing none, a motion is in order to approve the expenditures totaling $687,430.65 for payment.
So moved.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Yes. Tucker?
Yes. Our Lake 3 hearing on special assessment roll. This is a public hearing on the special assessment roll for Byram Lake improvement.
For years 2. This is a continuation. Lake has had theirs in place since the mid-'80s.
We'll now accept assessment cost of the project and the validity of the proceedings to date. I will now open up the meeting for public comment. Is there any written comments in the person that was addressing the board on the Byram Lake special improvement assessment? So unmute.
(24-03) is the assessment roll for Byron attached, pardon me, to the treasurer, directs the treasurer to collect a special assessment, and this repeals any conflicting resolutions. I'll move the resolution.
Second.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Krug, will you please call the roll?
Kotrick,
Yes.
Kessler's absent. I vote yes. Gopel's absent. Tucker,
Yes.
Lorraine,
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Resolution passes.
Thanks, Bob. All right. Our next public hearing is Loon Lake Improvement Special Assessment District Number 3, hearing on special assessment roll. This is a public hearing on the special assessment roll for Loon Lake.
Assessment is $429.17 per parcel, including township recovery of 2 through.
You're done? Comment on the following. Benefit received, the total cost of the project, and the validity of the proceedings to date. Is there anyone here? I'll now open up the meeting for public comment. Is there anyone here that's in attendance? Yes, sir. Would you like to come up front, if you don't mind, and just like you to give us your name?
Minnetonka Drive, which is on this back. We have on this.
My name is Linda Fritz. I live on Loon Lake Court, 3460. Last time I was here, I said I was talking about irrigation for 10 grand. Then they came up with a proposal for almost $240,000. And I had to hunt and to find out what they was going to use it for. It made me look like an idiot, but I'd like to have Dave Weber come up and explain to the people what they're getting, because we were told it might be disc that we could go get. And I don't think so. I think it has to be done by a professional. So if Dave Weber would talk about this to the people, I think they might better understand what this all this money is going to, go for. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is Dave in attendance?
Yes, he is.
Does Dave want to talk?
Does Dave want to cover it?
All right, thanks so much for having me today. Again, everyone knows my name's Dave Weber. I do live on Loon Lake. I'm on Neal Court. We do have a significant increase in funds that we're requesting. As everyone's heard over the years, and anyone who's on the lake knows how difficult our lake is to and issue of species of weeds come in the lake. During proposal, we actually had to come ask for more money to actually take care of some of the invasive starry stonewort. Fortunately, everyone agreed, and we did get it under control. I don't believe it's all gone, but it's under control. This new program that we've put together, we've actually gone out this year, and we've talked to multiple different vendors. We did get bids on what everyone thought we should be doing. We've had a couple different scientific tests with different companies coming in and actually testing the waters, testing the weeds, testing the sediment in the lake. And everyone that we have spoken to has suggested that this is the path we should follow. So what we're asking is for an increase, which most people don't understand. I don't think the cost of what all of the products are, the cost of the insurance for the company putting it out, all the extra expenses that have gone up in the last 5 years. So there's been a significant increase on that. We're also planning for multiple treatments every year. So we've always kind of scheduled for 2 treatments. Our lake does get different bursts of weed growth, spring, summer, and sometimes fall. So we're now asking for this money to be able to treat for 3 treatments throughout the year instead of just 2. This hopefully will help keep the weeds in check a little better. As for what Linda was referring to, we were looking into a vendor who could basically build a tank on the shoreline that would pump out beneficial bacteria to help reduce the amount of muck on the lake. Talked to multiple different vendors about this process, and this process is very new. There's no data showing how well it works. So when we did propose this at our annual Friends of Loon Lake meeting, we were all on board. Everyone wanted to do this. We did more research, not just stop there, did more research and found that it's probably a good idea, but it's in the infancies of this stage, and we don't feel putting everyone's money into this proposed project is in our best interest. We don't want to waste the funds that we have. So when talking to other vendors, some of them actually the ones that test the lake, scientific test, not just row a boat out there and throw a stick in the water to see how deep the muck is. They recommend us doing our own muck treatments to help reduce the sediment, which is feeding all the weeds. So instead of just killing the weeds, letting the weeds sink to the bottom of the lake and turn into food for the next season, we're trying to find a way to basically have the amount of muck, and our muck ranges from 2 inches in some spots up to 14 feet. So we're trying to make sure that we're attacking not only the weed problems we have, getting stuck in the propellers and lack of swimming areas, but we're trying to stop and mitigate the growth of a lot of these weeds. So we're on a process not only to treat the weeds, but to hopefully reduce the amount of weeds. Basically, when I say weeds, all the invasives. I don't mean the natural pond weeds and things like that. So that's where all these funds are going to. So we're looking at 3 treatments a year and then attacking the muck issue that everyone knows we have. So the process that we did talk to the association about, blame it on me, I didn't get any information out that we changed our direction, but we did not want to waste any funds that we have because it is so expensive doing what we do at this point. So this is what the board unanimously decided, to go away from this project until it's proven that it can work. So we just want to make sure we're doing the right thing for the lake. And maybe over time, if this new process is found to be valid and true and very beneficial, we'll change directions. But at this point, we're going to manually, with supervision, because we already done lake testing, where we know the areas where there's more muck than others. And normally our whole goal is to make sure the lake is usable by the residents. So we're not trying to treat muck in front of someone's yard for their swimming area. Everything that we do is based on using the lake. So everyone can get out and ski, go fishing, go swimming, do all the things that you want to do on a lake. So that's kind of where it stands. And I did, after I heard Linda didn't understand last time what was going on because of that change, I did reach out to her directly to try to help explain this. So I'm hoping this now clarifies everything for everyone on the lake.
Did a great job as a riparian. I think everyone that is a riparian in that lake should feel very comfortable that you've certainly done your due diligence. So
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in attendance tonight that would like to address the board? Okay. Hearing none, I'll go to those attending via Zoom. Is there anyone attending via Zoom that would like to address the board? All right. Hearing none, I will now close the public hearing. Are there any questions or comments from the board? All right. Resolution number 2024-29. Clerk Krug, will you please present the resolution?
That didn't bite. Confirm special assessment rule number 2024-06 as the assessment rule for Loon Lake Improvement Special Assessment District 3. Divides the assessments into 5 annual installments, with the first installment due on and payable December 1st, 2024. Assesses a 1% per month penalty on late installments, directs the clerk to deliver the special assessment roll with warrant attached to the treasurer, directs the treasurer to collect the special assessment, repeals any conflicting resolutions. I'll move the resolution.
Second.
All right. Motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Krug, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Gopal is absent. Tucker?
Yes.
Lorraine?
Yes.
Contract?
Yes.
I vote yes. Reed?
Yes.
Kessler is absent. Resolution passes.
Thanks, Bob. All right, our next public hearing is proposed Lake Improvement Special Assessment District, Golden Pond. This is the hearing of necessity. This is a public hearing on the creation of a new Lake Improvement Special Assessment District for Golden Pond for the continuation of a weed control program. The total estimated cost for the project is $32,480.39, spread over a 5-year period. The board will now accept public comment on the following: the creation of the Special Assessment District, the proposed boundaries of the district, the necessity of the improvement, the preliminary plans for the improvement, and the estimated costs for the improvement. I will now open up the meeting for public comment. Tom, is there any written comments in the packet? No. All right. Is there anyone here in attendance that would like to address the board? All right, hearing none, I will move to Zoom. Is there anyone attending via Zoom that would like to address the board on Golden Pond? All right, I will now close the public hearing. Are there any questions or comments from the board? All right. Resolution number 2024-30. Clerk Krug, will you please present the resolution?
Yes. It approves the plan and estimated cost of $32,480.39, creates the Golden Pond Improvement Special Assessment District Number 2, which includes all properties with frontage on Golden Pond, directs the supervisor to create a special assessment roll, repeals any conflicting resolutions. I'll move the resolution.
I'll support.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Krug, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Kessler's absent. I vote yes. Reed,
Yes.
Lorraine,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Tucker,
Yes.
Gopel is absent. Resolution passes.
All right, thanks, Bob. In anticipation of the adoption of the previous resolution, a special assessment roll has been created, certified, and filed with the Township Clerk. Resolution number 2024-31. Clerk Krug, will you please present the resolution?
It acknowledges the filing of the special assessment roll with the clerk and its availability for review until the public hearing. Schedules a public hearing on the special assessment roll at the September 17th board meeting. Directs the clerk to publish and mail the notice of hearing according to statute, repeals any resolutions conflicting. I'll move the resolution.
I'll second it.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Krug, will you please call the roll?
Yes, I vote yes. Reed,
Yes.
Lorraine,
Yes.
Kessler's absent. Patrick,
Yes.
Tucker,
Yes.
Gopel's absent. Resolution passes.
Thanks, Bob. All right, next under public hearings is proposed water system improvement special assessment district, Glen Devon. This is the hearing of necessity. This is a public hearing on the creation of a special assessment district to finance the cost of connecting the Glen Devon condominium subdivision to the municipal water system, including connection fees. The total estimated cost of the project is $605,419 to be spread over a period of time to be determined by the Township Board. The board will now accept public comment on the following: the creation of the special assessment district, the proposed boundaries of the special assessment district, the necessity of the improvement, the preliminary plans for the improvement, and the estimated cost of the improvement. I will now open up the meeting for public comment. Tom, is there any written comments in the packet?
None.
All right. Is there anyone in attendance that would like to address the board?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Just if you could come up and just state your name.
My name is Al Monetto. I'm the president of their Board of Association, our association board. We hired Craft Engineering to work with us once we knew that water was beginning right in front of our complex, right on Laring Road, right where we live. And we have been talking because we have a large problem with arsenic. It has been costing us a lot of money to replace the media for that. And the engineer looked at us with what we would be currently looking at in terms of replacement and keeping up our wells, and determined that it would be 3 times as much money to pay for those wells operating with arsenic-free water than moving to this system. So that's why we are asking for the money for the connection to all our original piping, as well as paying for Genesee County and for the township connection fees.
Thank you, Al. That was great. Where's Mr. Gopel? Is there anyone else in attendance that would like to address the board? Hearing none, I will move on to Zoom. Is there anyone in attendance that would like to address the board that's joined us this evening via Zoom? Hearing none, I will now close the public hearing. Are there any questions or comments from the board? All right, resolution number 2024-32. Clerk Krug, will you please present the resolution?
Yes, it approves the preliminary plans at an estimated cost of $605,418. Creates the Glen Devon Water System Special Assessment District, which includes units 1 through 132, pardon me, of the Glen Devon condominium subdivision. Directs the supervisor to create a special assessment roll, repeals any conflicting resolutions. I'll move the resolution.
Or
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Krug, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Tucker,
yes.
Lorraine,
Yes.
Gopel, and Kessler are absent. Reed,
Yes.
Kotrick,
Yes.
I vote yes, motion, or resolution passes.
Thanks, Bob. All right, the next step in this process will include the design and bidding out of the project. Once bids are received, a special assessment rule can be created and the second public hearing will be scheduled. All right, moving on to the next public hearing. This is the Lake Fenton Improvement Special Assessment District Number 3, hearing on special assessment roll. This is a public hearing on the special assessment roll for Lake Fenton Improvement Special Assessment District Number 3. Just to let everyone know, I'm sure a lot of you are here, that we had some conversation at our last meeting. This board did listen, and there were some adjustments made along with the Lake Fenton Property Owners Association. I do want to say thank you to Julia. I don't know where you're at, Julia. She is our assessor. A lot of times she takes the bull by the horn, and she did a lot of work on this, so I just wanted to say thank you for doing that. And Tom, if you want to review, I'm sure we've all reviewed the memo in the packet, but Tom, if you want to review just the proposed revisions.
Sure. So as a result of the public comments at the first hearing, research conducted by our assessor, Julia Wilson, and subsequent communications with the Lake Fenton Property Owners Association, the association recommended the following revisions to the assessment methodology. Commercial marinas would be basically 4 shares for every 50 boat slips. Other commercial property with docks would be 2 shares. Any other commercial property without docks would be a single share. And then there were some properties on Cases Island that did not have lake frontage, and so for the island properties, 1 share for each parcel with lake frontage. It only removed about 7 parcels in total. And then all other parcels are 1 share. So pursuant to the recommendation received, a revised special assessment roll has been created and is being presented for board consideration. As you might expect, because of the size of the district, it did not have a significant change in the per share assessments. It did change the methodology as recommended. The per share assessment went down total for the 5 years, $4.56.
All right, thanks. The board will now accept public comment on the following: an individual's assessment in relation to the benefit received, the total cost of the project, and the validity of the proceedings to date. I will now open up the meeting for public comment. Tom, is there any written comments in the packet?
No.
All right. Is there anyone here in attendance that would like to address the board? All right. Hearing none, we'll go to Zoom. Is there anyone attending via Zoom that would like to address the board? All right. Hearing none, I will now close the public hearing. Is there any questions or comments from the board?
I just had one comment about the 7 properties on the island.
I had the same question.
Don't they have to use the lake to get there back?
Well, in each case, they have lake frontage properties, so they're being assessed. So it's not a matter of
So they have 2 parcels.
right. It's
Okay.
it's an unusual situation where they have a parcel. There's a parcel with a cottage, then there's a platted park, then there's a parcel in the water. They can't connect them legally.
Yeah.
So they're
And not that those 7 parcels is going to really sway. I mean, that
No.
might be, 10
but
cents.
there aren't any owners
Yeah.
not being assessed.
Yeah,
Okay.
anybody that has one of those are being assessed.
But couldn't that change?
Potentially. They're 40 by 60 lots, so I'm not sure how
I
much
don't
you'd
know
ever-
how it could change, really.
Yeah.
They're not,
I do. I go buy a lot on the interior of the island, and I
Right.
go to the marina and jump in my boat, and off I go.
yeah, but how do you, well,
I mean, I had your same exact thought. It's like some of these properties we have that have lake access. You know, we assess them some kind of a share. Now, is it fair to assess them twice because they own frontage on the lake and can get to the island? Well, I don't think that's a whole lot different than just having 2 lakefront parcels. But again, I just wanted to know. Want to know the rationale for it. 'Cause
Well, that was the recommendation from the association, to exempt those few for that reason.
well, the 32 cents is going to make a difference. I'll keep my mouth shut.
Wouldn't even be 32 cents. All right.
you trouble.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Well, for all of you that were here and talked about it last meeting, this is how government works. So we listened and got it done. So, all right. Resolution number 2024-33. Clerk Krug, will you please present the resolution?
Yes, confers revised special assessment roll 2024-04 as the assessment roll for Lake Fenton Improvement Special Assessment District 3. Divides the assessment into 5 annual installments with the first installment due and payable December 1st, 2024. Assesses 1% per month penalty on lake installments, directs the clerk to deliver the special assessment roll with warrant attached to the treasurer, directs the treasurer to collect the special assessment, and repeals any and all conflicting resolutions. I'll move the resolution.
Second.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Krug, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Lorraine,
Yes.
Kotrick,
yes,
Kessler, and Gopel are absent. Tucker?
Yes.
I vote yes. Reed?
Yes.
Resolution passes.
Thanks, Bob. All right, next business in order is reports. Are there any committee reports to be made to the board this evening? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to communications. This evening we have no communications. Moving on to adoption of ordinances. This is the rezoning of Z024-003 BMP Laring LLC, part of parcel 06-08-300-015 and parcel number 06-07-400-002, Laring Road west of Linden Road, requesting R3 to Ag. This is the introduction and the first reading. This is the introduction of a proposed zoning ordinance amendment to rezone vacant land on Laring Road from R3 to Ag. Our zoning administrator, Mr. Deem, is here tonight. You can fill us in.
yeah, so, first of all, excuse my voice.
What voice?
Yeah, well, this is better than it has
It
been.
is.
So, this may look familiar. About two meetings ago, you reviewed the adjacent parcel that was also being rezoned from R3 to Ag. What's being requested is now the adjacent parcel. This is consistent with the master plan. The proposed use would be for horse farm, which is consistent with the zoning ordinance. Planning Commission has passed a recommendation to approve the rezoning request.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. I'm going to now open up the meeting for public comment, and I'm going to bring up Mr. David Goldstein. He would like to address the board.
David Goldstein, 13340 Crane Ridge. As you all know, I've been working on this project, and I'm trying to restore the rural nature of the northwest quadrant of the township to what it's master planned to be, which is ag. And this is the last piece of the puzzle, and I would encourage everybody to go with the Planning Commission that voted unanimously for it. Thank you.
Thank you, David. All right, I'll now open up the meeting, the public meeting. Is there anyone here in attendance that would like to address the board on the rezoning? All right, hearing none, I'll reach out to those via Zoom. Is there anyone that's out there via Zoom that would like to address the board on the rezoning? All right, hearing none, I will now close public hearing. Is there any questions or comments from the board?
Same song, second verse.
Yeah. I didn't know if you wanted to add anything.
That was what I wanted to add.
There you go. All right, the second reading and vote on the adoption of the proposed rezoning ordinance will be conducted at the September 3rd meeting. Thanks, David. Next, under adoption of ordinances, this is the rezoning of Z024-004 Danny Niemer, parcel number 06-16-300-010. This is 4436 Ralston Road, going from Ag to R3. This is the introduction and the first reading. This is the introduction of a proposed zoning ordinance amendment to rezone vacant land at the intersection of Ralston and Ripley Roads from Ag to R3. Our zoning administrator is here to explain.
All right, so I think what's important to talk about here is that what you're reviewing tonight is a rezoning request. And the request is to go from AG to R3, which is going from agriculture to single-family residential. Now, for the past couple of Planning Commission meetings, there has also been a concept plan attached with this that is not being reviewed tonight. For the rezoning, the master plan, which is the document we look at for rezonings, the master plan has said that this area should be medium density residential. And that's been since the 2002 master plan. So for the past 20 some odd years, this area has been identified for single family residential. And so when we look at the request is to rezone from ag to single family residential, which is a medium density residential use. This property is also served by water and sewer. Both those utilities are consistent with medium density residential and with the R3 classification. So the Planning Commission held a public hearing, took comments. The Planning Commission has made a recommendation on the rezoning, and the rezoning only to rezone from ag to R3 for compliance with the master plan. Planning Commission also took comments on the concept plan. Again, there's not been an official application for a subdivision, but we have had a concept plan to look at. The Planning Commission was very clear during the meeting that they were not recommending approval of a site plan based on the concept plan as presented. They identified a number of issues. One, that the wetlands are being included in the open space calculations. The zoning ordinance does not allow wetlands to be included in the open space calculations. So the plan that was presented was too dense because they had more open space than the ordinance would calculate. So that's one revision that would have to be made to the plan. Another item that the Planning Commission identified that they had concerns with is that the concept plan had lots directly onto Ripley and Ralston. Typically for new subdivisions, you see those accessed internally. And so again, the Planning Commission was very clear that when they made the recommendation for the rezoning, it was purely for the rezoning of the property. And again, that's based on the master plan. They have not made a recommendation on the concept plan, and that's not what's being reviewed here tonight.
Thanks, Mike. Treasurer Tucker, would you like to give any more input?
Yeah, the only thing I would disagree with, Mike, is that we did make a recommendation on the concept plan, and that was the dog ain't gonna hunt. Okay, there were a lot of issues, a lot of residents, a lot of discussion, and they raised a lot of very good points. Mike has summarized the two primary ones. It's way too dense based on what the ordinance would allow, and even some of the areas that they're including for the calculation are based on discretionary things with the Planning Commission that relate to improvements to make it a usable area. I won't bore you with all the details, but it's not real often you get a concept plan with the rezoning. It's not unheard of, but it's unusual. And I would say 98% of the discussion had to do with the concept plan. And it was density, it was traffic, it was property values. Yeah, it was the usual things that you would expect. And it's very unusual for the Planning Commission to say, hey, we are not suggesting that the concept plan is something that we're going to move forward with. And we tried to be very clear to the developer that there were a number of issues that were going to have to be addressed when it gets to site plan stage. So when you cut through all the hoo-ha, you know, it's a simple rezoning request. You guys know my mantra. Look at the master plan. It says medium density residential. They are asking R3, which is medium density residential. But it does not make the logical leap from approval of the rezoning request to approval of the concept plan or a site plan based on a concept plan. My personal opinion is that that concept plan is going to have to be significantly revised to address the points that Mike raised.
I just wanted to ask too, one of the letters mentioned that part of the property might be wetlands. I assume that would factor into.
Yeah, you get a wetland delineation, you know, so it determines there are some areas that it's questionable whether it's regulated or not regulated, but there's a study that is done that tells you those answers. They get flagged, and then you do the calculations based on, you know, what that wetland study would delineation tells
Yeah,
you.
so that will factor into the concept plan stage, but
Yeah,
not.
yeah, right.
Alrighty. Thanks, Mike, I appreciate it. All right, I'll now open up the meeting for public comment. Tom, is there any written comments?
We do have one written comment. It's in your electronic
Packet.
packet, and also on the public information packet we posted on the website. I won't read it word for word because I think the issues were just covered, but it's from David Carenduff, who lives nearby, and his concerns are related to density and also the potential wetlands. And as we just heard, those are issues that would have to be resolved at the site plan level rather than at the zoning level.
All right, thanks, Tom. And again, before I open it up for public comment, I hope everyone understands we're only voting on taking the property from ag to R3. We're not talking about any concepts, no, nothing. It's just the rezoning. All right, I will now open up the meeting for public comment. Is there anyone in here in person that would like to address the board? Yes, ma'am. Get your
Laura
name.
Kupras.
Laura?
Yes, Laura.
Thank you.
Hi. I live on Ripley. We just moved here, actually, so this is very concerning because it's right where we moved, and it's talking about knocking down everything that we loved about the whole area, about it being this kind of rural, kind of community feeling, and knocking all that down. And I know we're not talking about the concept plans, but that's a big deal of knocking all of this wonderful agriculture land that it could be, evolved into, and just completely wiping it out. And with a lot of the stuff that was already brought up about, the density and all the stuff that you're gonna have to talk about before, I still say that you should vote no on changing it to agriculture, or changing it from agriculture to the residential, until a lot of, the developer has fixed a lot of these issues. What's the point of moving forward on making it residential if it's still not fixed? It's still not, it's completely different than what the ordinance is what it's supposed to be. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Is there anyone else here in attendance that would like to address the board? Yes. John, isn't it? Dave, sorry. Oof, not even close.
Nice to make my time worthwhile today. Again, David Weber. I live in an adjacent community to this farm property, this proposed development. I actually agree with the last resident who made that comment. It sounds like we're trying to push this through to change the houses before there's any good plan. We have a large concern already about runoff from the farm towards Loon Lake, because Loon Lake is at the corner of this farm property. So we're not sure how the development will change that. So we would not want to see this changed to residential yet, not knowing exactly what's going to happen. Because I think changing it to residential instead of just planning it out a little better kind of puts the cart in front of the horse and could lead to bad things. I would just like to see it done properly so it's safely done. Mr. Niemer is building houses in my neighborhood, and some of the things that are done aren't always great. We've had a few issues with, for us, runoff sediment going into with the wetland issue and the things that are going. We would rather see a plan before we just say jump right in, and we just have large concerns.
All right. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Anyone else in attendance that would like to address the board? Yes, sir. Got one more, Danny. No.
Matt Burchard on
Matt.
Cold Lakes Drive. Moved here in '09 for the rural feeling. I love it up here. Seeing ag turn into residential is very scary. The last owner request of 003, the gentleman wanted to go from R3 back to ag. And then you state the master plan talks about, it implies with it, but the residents who are in the surveys of these master plans, question 12, about wanting more houses, they do not desire for additional homes, as well as question 18 about diversity in housing options. That is the lowest response of this. Additionally, if the wetlands are a condition of discussion here, 2022 Sackett Supreme Court remove protections for wetlands, stating that they're only protected if they have a contiguous body of water. And that was our U.S. Supreme Court. So I hope that they do not change this to residential, leave it ag, and the town as it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt, appreciate it. Anyone else in attendance? Ma'am, did you want to address the board?
Yes, please.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm Barbara Whittier, and I live in Lakeside Acres, adjacent to the farm. First of all, may I say, you need to get your sound system fixed, because it's very difficult to hear you. It sounds like you're all mumbling. So if you could get better. Everybody agree? Yeah. It's
So
like
you're having a hard time hearing me?
hearing anybody.
We don't have the speakers turned up proper.
Well, it just sounds like you're all mumbling back there. It's like,
Oh, boy.
especially when you turn your heads and face each other and you're not facing the microphones.
Well, thank you very much, Barbara.
Sorry.
No, that's, I will make sure. Tom?
Sorry.
Is
Just a
our
point.
sound engineer here?
Okay. Second of all, we keep referring to the wetlands, and I'm not sure see, I thought wetlands were protected, and he was just mentioning that they're not anymore, but is that a concern that changing it to residential is going to ruin the wetlands? And it's one thing that is very attractive, and I mean, every time I drive by there must be 30 cranes there and deer, and excuse me, it's just a beautiful nature area that draws wildlife and again keeps the area beautiful, and so I wanted to object to making it residential and don't know why we have to do that. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Barbara. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Tim Mitchell, I live on Four Lakes Drive. I guess I would like to just clarify the fact that Mr. Niemer does not own this property currently, correct?
It's usually the case. I don't know that.
Well, it has to be an owner or the board or the zoning commission that puts this forward.
Well, a potential purchaser under a purchase agreement can be given authority by the owner to.
By the trustee?
By
The trustee
the
and
owner. By the owner.
By the owner. Who's the trustee, correct? It's the Francis Ward Trust.
Well, yeah, the trust would have to give authority to do that. There typically is a purchase agreement. There's a period of time for doing due diligence and a period of time to try and get rezoning and site plan approval all in place before it closes. That's just the way that usually goes. It doesn't always go that way. But
It doesn't always go.
yeah.
I just don't see the need to switch this to residential if his whole plan is contingent upon this happening, right? So like, if this doesn't happen, he's not gonna buy the property. So that's kind of what I'm frustrated with. And I tackle Matt's sentiment. I mean, I moved here because, from Metro Detroit. I love it up here because it's got that rural feel, you know, the lakes and the open space. And, you know, I just see a lot of creep in terms of the housing developments that are coming towards our area. I know the northwest quadrant of our township is not very developed, but I see the master plan in terms of it went from, you know, agriculture towards, now everything's considered medium density residential, which I don't necessarily like. I guess that's me personally. But I guess, you know, I would like to see that you guys don't approve this because I think his entire plan is contingent upon that. Nothing against Danny, but you know, I think I like the rural feel of this area. I live just right next to it, and yeah. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Anyone else? Yes, Julia. Julie, did you want to? Okay.
Can you tell a difference in the back? It sounds like he's up the volume. Can you hear better now, or is it the same?
Yeah, can you hear better now?
We're getting a little reverb up here, so.
Yes, Julia.
There's been a lot of discussion about a lot of things, and as Mike, I just want to reiterate this, what Mike and John said, this is just for rezoning. Any planned development or any development that goes in there has to go through the planning commission, and that's when all these thoughts of reason and concerns should come into play, because this rezoning doesn't only impact that development that is going to take place, it also impacts you can see the 3 half-acre lots there in front. They have, which are family members, it also impacts them because they have to include or increase their property due to improvements that are not on their property. And that cannot be done unless the zoning is the same. And they've also took another 16. Although there's a lot of talk in regards and concern, and I understand the people's concerns totally regarding the rezoning, have anything to do with the development process at this stage of the game.
Thanks, Julia. Is there a gentleman I saw get up? Yes.
William Peak, 4521 East Rolston. I'm new to Fenton Township. I'm new to this whole process. I purchased my house just over a year ago, and the reason I purchased it was because of the rural location. I live right next door to Mr. Carenduff, so we're looking directly at the property. So it's obviously a big concern for us. We're concerned obviously with the wetlands. There's tons of wildlife there. Every single day there's deer running across, turkey, the Boston Road there. That's an issue as well for me because it's directly in front of my house. I come down Ralston going into the 35-mile-an-hour zone, and I see people trying to back out into the road, and people hit their brakes there. Now in that particular area, it's a 45-mile-an-hour zone. So there's even more issues with more traffic. So having those houses come off directly onto Ralston is also a concern for us too. I know this is just for rezoning, but I think it's important that everybody knows that everybody's concerned about this. So when it goes into voting or whatever, that everybody takes that into consideration. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else attending here tonight that would like to address the board? You're on, Danny.
My name is Danny Nemmer, Cedar Creek Construction. Yes, we are looking to take this piece of property and develop it. We are going with the Fenton Township master plan from agriculture to R3. Everybody keeps speaking of the density. We meet the qualifications of R3 density. I'm not really sure what, the stipulations are, why all the pushback is, in the sense of, from a development standpoint, we are meeting the criteria of Fenton Township's future master plan. We're trying to adhere to all the rules and regulations. And I know not everyone, certainly not everyone, anytime there's change, you're not going to appease the masses. Having said that, if any developer was to go in there and have their way, 100-acre parcel, there could be significantly more lots in that area. We are truly trying to abide by the ordinance, thank you, and do exactly what the township has proposed for this piece of property and its future development. I know a lot of the controversy has been due to the site plan. We've made some changes since the Planning Commission committee, and I've got.
It's premature.
They're
working on it.
This is our preliminary, what we've got. During our last, would you guys like to see the kind of the future concept from previous?
We can't. Danny, it's really not appropriate because really we're just talking about rezoning at this part.
So I guess what I'm trying to say. I guess what I'm trying to say is this: that it is agriculture currently, Future master plan is for R3, and we plan on abiding by the R3 zoning and ordinance rules. And that's really all I've got to say. I think at the next point of view, the next meeting, I would like to show you our proposal for a site plan. If it's premature at this point, then fine, so be it. But we would love to hear you guys' feedback, because we want to do the right thing, not only by Fenton Township, but by the community and the residents. Yeah, for sure. I am a resident of Fenton Township. The property that we're planning to develop is literally a mile away from my current residence. I don't want to do anything that's going to disrupt the community. I don't want to do anything that's going to make people tell me I'm number one as they're driving by my home. I want to do something that's right. If I don't do it, somebody else is going to. I at least am, and no, somebody else is going to. I'm hearing some feedback in the background. If I don't do it, somebody else will. Yeah, maybe not now, but down in the future, somebody else will develop this. And I think we all understand that development and future progress is imminent. It's going to happen. Having said that, I'm the guy that's willing to work with you and everybody else. Tell me what you want. And if it makes sense, we will accommodate. And if it doesn't, then we'll have a discussion. Right now, we're asking for you guys to acknowledge the fact that it is agricultural in your master deed. It is in the future perspective. It is zoned for R3. And we're asking for that approval. You set the precedence as Fenton Township. You set the precedence that this is supposed to be R3 zoning.
It's step first before we go to.
Yeah, exactly. And we're doing everything that you guys have set forth to do, for us to do. We are doing it. Tell us what else we need to do to make this happen so we can continue moving forward.
Thanks, Danny.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in attendance?
Hand over there in the back.
Oh, okay.
So, let's see. We had talked in the previous, you guys had mentioned in the previous meeting that this already is also served by municipal sewer and water. But per the map that I found online, there is no sewer in place currently by that property. Is that correct? No. There's sewer on Ralston up until the first house adjacent to that property. So I wanted to point that out because I don't know how this has gone forward, but that was stated multiple times. Also, I mean, nothing against Mr. Niemer again, but there's currently, I believe, 5 or 6 parcels still for sale along, what's that, Patrick Drive and Judith Court, which he has also developed adjacent to the east.
No, there's not, sir.
No, there's not?
There's not.
Not for the Jackson County website.
I own every vacant parcel.
You own them, correct, but but there's no house on the property at that point.
I'm sorry?
There's no house on the property.
There's only 2 developable properties that are on Lakeside Acres.
I saw 5 today, so yeah.
There's only 2 developable properties on Lakeside Acres.
Okay. But then also, he just got approved in Linden to develop a condo complex, correct?
Okay. You're speaking out of turn, sir.
I was just reading the website, I apologize.
No, you can read whatever you want to read.
Yeah, well, let's end this.
Yeah, let's end it.
I guess my point is,
You talk to us, and Danny, you
yeah,
had
no, I
your
was just
turn.
addressing him
so
because he was talking
talk
to me.
to us.
I apologize.
It's your turn to talk.
Okay, no, thank you. No, I was just going to say that the Linden property is just off of Linden Road at Ralston, so it's no more than a mile from there. And there's open areas. I don't see a need for more development in this area at this time, is my point. I get everything's zoned. You're trying to get it residential per the master plan. I personally disagree with that. But this is all, it's a money thing. I mean, he's going to make money off this deal, and we're going to end up seeing more houses that we don't really necessarily need in this area. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here that would like to address the board? All right, hearing that, I'm going to go to those attending via Zoom. Is there anyone attending via Zoom that would like to address the board? Only on the rezoning. All right, hearing none, I will now close the public hearing. I think there's going to be a few questions or comments.
Well, we're not voting today, right? This
No,
is
I just
yeah.
wanted to see if there was anything that the board wanted to talk about.
It's a pretty
Yes.
good example of how the planning commission meeting went, so. You know, the issues are in fact separate. I understand the desire to bind them together, but that's, you know, if you understand the basic mechanism for how zoning works in the township, the master plan has been saying for 20 years, medium density residential for this area. Now, we've asked for input, so if we wanted to master plan it for something else, you know, we could do that. But for over 20 odd years, this is what we're saying we want here. By this, I mean R3 zoning. I don't mean necessarily what's in the concept plan, so that's where we're all going. They are separate and distinct things. A good way to lose a lawsuit is to do something that violates your master plan. So then you lose control completely, so I probably wouldn't be careful with that. But I understand the concerns, but I also live by this property too, so.
Thanks. Oh, one thing go ahead.
First of all, one thing, and I've said it before, so I'm probably just wasting my breath. The master plan sucks.
There you go.
Okay, that's,
all you people that are clapping, okay, we've had multiple invitations for people to come to these meetings, okay? I want every single one of you that doesn't like the master plan to show up to the next one and tell us what you want, okay? Because that's what the whole process is. We've had tons of input, and it's not until somebody sees it in their backyard that they get motivated. So I'm challenging all of you, and I'm not arguing with you, because I understand the point that is made. Please show up to these meetings.
and I don't believe, I do believe if you listen to these people, and they're from different areas within the township, that creating anything but ag is not a desire. I agree with a couple of the comments. Right now, I live in a very nice home. I've lived in Fenton Township about 47 years. And I've got two little 7-year-old granddaughters. And I want their future to grow up in Fenton Township the same way it is right now. And one thing I think we're overlooking, and I've got back involved with the schools, is the negative impact all these houses have on the school system, as far as room, areas to, you know, one of the things the schools wants to do is sometime in the near future, build a new middle school, because the old high school is going to be like an upper L. So I really think we have to watch the little things that, when they are separate, doesn't have much of an impact. But when they start intertwining, they're really impacting the way of life, and several people have said it, why move there? That's all.
Any other questions or comments?
Well, I do have a comment. I mean, we've talked before about the difference between the master plan. We've talked before about the difference between the master plan and the current zoning, and how those do not always align. I will note for the record that I voted against the master plan when it came up a month or so ago. And this is exactly the reason why I voted against it, is because we have certain areas where we're looking to put, whether it be, you know, R3, which is like medium density residential, or even commercial properties. And I don't think that, and Bob mentioned schools, but I'll go a step further and mention infrastructure. If you drive around this area, it is getting busier and busier. I get on the road sometimes and I think, where did all these cars come from? Does this many people actually live here? Because we don't have the infrastructure to be adding 100 homes here, 120 homes there, 200 homes here. I mean, we're just because I agree that progress it's coming, right? I mean, you can't fight it off, but so many of us live here, and I grew up in Linden. We live here because we like the rural feel. I work in Troy, and people say, you drive all the way to Fenton? And I say, yes, because I love it there, and I don't want to live in this craziness. So I don't want us to move forward and create craziness. I don't want to live in Brighton, you know. I don't want to live in an Ann Arbor. I mean, I don't want to live in that density. And I think by sort of giving away our agricultural land, it's just opening the door for development. So, and I understand that the Planning Commission does a good job of making sure the developments are the best that they can possibly be, but I think at some point we really need to just think about how much we're adding. There are a lot of new subdivisions going in right now, and subdivisions filling out from, you know, the housing bubble that happened, you know, 15 years ago. But we need to be very careful with that.
Thank you, Christy. Any other comments?
Yeah, I guess I do agree with a lot of the agricultural, the concerns about agricultural land disappearing. I do think the right time for that is during the master plan process, which obviously is passed right now. But I also think one of the really shocking things from the only reason I'm up here is because I think there's maybe just not enough interest from the community in running for spots on this board and other and participating in the master plan process because we really do have to control it at the master plan level. And so if there is, you know, broad sweeping public sentiment against more agricultural land being developed as it is right now in our master plan, I think that's the level that it needs to be fought at. I don't think the township can just start ignoring our master plan and refusing rezoning requests. I mean, obviously we can make sure the site plans comply with all of our ordinances, but I don't think when it's a rezoning that's in compliance with the master plan, I think we're just inviting litigation if we start picking and choosing.
Thanks, Kate. Well, I guess since everyone's given their 2 cents, I'll give mine. And again, this is just an observation, so I don't want you to take it as my personal feelings. But I've been on the board for over 15 years and sat on the Planning Commission, sat on the Zoning Board of Appeals. And I've seen this happen a lot. I mean, I look at it a little differently. I have a daughter I love more than life, and I want her to live here. And right now we have a housing shortage. I also look at when I hear people coming up, and I understand your concerns. You bought a house in ag, but it states that piece of property is in R3, let's say, in our master plan. If you go to buy a house, learn from that, and when you buy a house, you look at the master plan and say, I'm buying a house that's right next door to R3. So in the future, there's going to be homes there. I think what we need, we are going to get development. We are a country of growing population. This is a beautiful place to live. I've been here for 44 years. I love it here. I've been blessed to be a riparian. I want my daughter to have that same thing for her life. And right now, she can't afford to buy $1 million house on Lake Fenton or one of the lakes around here. She needs an entry-level home. Who are we to say, you know what, I love it here, I can afford to live here, but I don't want anybody else to come here. And I think we should look at both sides, because I don't appreciate people that say, well, I don't want anybody else to live here just because I can afford here, and I don't want to look out and see anybody else living here. This is a great, great, great township. We have low crime, why would we not want our family, our children, and their children to be able to live in this municipality also? I think what's more important is to, like Kate said, like John said, look at the master plan and controlled growth. You're right, we don't want 1,200 homes coming here, but at the same time, we do need growth in our township. It just needs to be controlled and be smart. So hopefully we can do that. So that's my 2 cents. All right, the second reading and the vote on the adoption of the proposed rezoning ordinance will be conducted at the September 3rd meeting. Next, under adoption of ordinances, is the proposed ordinance short-term rentals. This is the second reading and vote on an adoption. All right, vote on adoption. There's 2 things: zoning ordinance amendment, short-term rentals, and the general police power ordinance on short-term rentals. Our zoning administrator, Mike Deem, is here to review.
All right. So we have a new proposal for you guys to discuss and consider for tonight. What the ordinance that you have in front of you, all right, considers a permit required for all short-term rentals, regardless of where they are.
Can you hear Mike? I'm sorry, Mike, I didn't mean to interrupt. He's got a throat issue. Does anybody want to move up? We got some empty seats. You can do that?
Back here.
Excuse me?
The sound's fine back here.
Okay, go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Sure. Yep. All right. So what the ordinance is proposing, for commercial properties, it would be permitted use. For agriculture properties, be a special use permit. And then for single-family residential properties, it would be a special use permit, but for only owner-occupied rentals. And so that means that you're renting out a room, you're not renting out an entire house. And the property owner has to be living at that site during the rental. Then for multifamily, it'd be a permitted use. The ordinance also removes the cap and the distance requirement. And the theory behind that is by having the owner on site during the rental, the renters are unlikely to cause an issue, right? Because the owner will be there, able to address concerns right then. You're not worried about someone 15 miles away having to address the issues. Still provides an opportunity for someone who has a room they want to rent out for extra income. Prevents businesses from purchasing multiple homes to use only as short-term rentals. Planning Commission reviewed this request, or this proposal, and they were not in favor of it. Their reasoning was that the effort that they put in, the original ordinance that you guys reviewed, took into public comment. It was years in the making. There was compromises, and they felt that with the information that they had, that the ordinance that they presented was what is the best for the township to consider. Obviously, I did not get that same feeling from the board, right? So that's why we've presented this revised option that takes a little bit of what the Planning Commission talked about and hopefully addresses the concerns that the board has brought up. So I can try my best to answer any questions you guys have.
Thanks, Mike. Yep. I'm just going to restate, try to summarize what he said for any of you that wasn't able to hear him. What we are doing is looking at short-term rentals, and we're looking at 3 things that are being presented. Permitted use in RM, which is residential multifamily, so that would, it's already being done, like apartments, things like that. Use by special use permit in ag, that means anyone that has ag property, which is what, an acre or more? 2 acres or more, could rent out there as an Airbnb, but only by special use permit. That means they would have to come to the Planning Commission and get a permit to do that. And then use by special use permit in single-family residential zoning districts, only if the owner is living in the home at the time of the rental. And again, it's been about close to 2 years, in the making. It went through the Planning Commission, recommendation was made. We've had a lot of people, almost 2 years of input. This board looked at things a little differently than the planning. Kate, I think that was one of the owner occupied. We took a lot of that. I asked Mike to go back to the Planning Commission, and ultimately it's this board's decision. So that's where we're at tonight. So is there any comment from the board? Again, we're not taking public comment tonight, so.
There was just a comment up on Zoom. I didn't catch it. It might be in the chat.
Okay. It's really not a public comment.
I didn't think,
Is there any?
I didn't think the owner occupied was consistent with what we discussed. I think we talked about owners having to have an interest in the community, you know, so maybe, you know, the homestead. But I think if the owner has to be in the house, you're severely hampering the ability to rent that property. I know if I'm going on vacation with my family and I want to rent a house and the owner says, oh, by the way, I'll be in the bedroom down the hall, that's just weird. I think it's gonna impede that process. So I'm torn with that. And how are we gonna police that?
So it's something that would be required for them to put in their listings. And we're working with a compliance company that checks all the listings in the township multiple times a day.
But it's one thing to put it in your listing, it's another thing to actually be on site during the rental. I mean, I don't know the way.
Well, I suppose you're not gonna, if you have an issue, then you're not gonna rent it, right? And so I think that just that aspect of it is going to limit the issues. And if we do have an issue and we find that the owner's not there, right, then that's reason not to renew the permit.
We do have a company also, and I think you know this, that when implemented, when we do pass something with the STRs, that there is a company that will be monitoring everyone that's doing things. Can people rent out something? They can do it now without posting it on one of the Airbnb or something like that. So I just wanted to let you know we do have probably one of the best companies out there to help us to monitor that. Any other questions or comments? Oh, I didn't mean to cut you. Okay. Any other questions or comments?
The comment I have isn't substantive. There are 5 of us here. There was a large diversity of opinion on this issue, which is what's made it difficult to get anything through. So I'm probably stupid, but I don't think we should be doing anything until all 7 of us have our input on this. I don't even know. Is this still take 4 votes for this, Jack, or is this 3 out of 5, or how's it go?
Well, no, it's
4 votes.
4.
4? Yeah,
It would be us 4.
4 out of 5, yeah. I mean, I feel like we should defer this discussion, you know, much less the vote, until we got everybody here. Because there were a lot of different opinions. And it was pointed out to me by the Planning Commission that there were a lot of different opinions. And they're hard to reconcile all of them, you know, so.
Go ahead, Kate.
I will say I agree with that. I would like to hear from the full board before we vote on it. I do think this is a much improved, or at least from my perspective, which obviously lots of different perspectives, a much improved ordinance in that I like that it treats all the houses equally. So you're not having one neighbor get a permit and that stop their neighbor from getting a permit. I'm glad we don't have the cap. We sort of finds a way to get rid of the need for the cap and distance requirements, while still hopefully keeping noise and other violations in check. So I like that about it a lot. I also like that it treats agricultural zoning a little different than the single-family residential owning, and that lets them have, you know, the non-owner occupied house. I guess my concern is just a little bit that I'm not sure we quite have specific enough language on that. We have special use permits for single-family residential zone properties shall have the property owner present and living on site. I guess I do think that present part is going to be hard to police. So I'm not sure exactly what I would like to do about that. I guess maybe it could just be if, you know, there's evidence the owner wasn't on site, then they're not going to get it renewed. I definitely like that the property owner maybe has to be residing there. I'm not sure if actually being present. I also can imagine like situations where, you know, you're renting it out and, I don't know, a family member dies or is hospitalized or something, you have to leave. Are you now violating our zoning ordinance? So I'm not sure if that could be tweaked at all to some sort of maybe a residency requirement, or if the view is we really need someone there because we need to keep the noise in check. I guess I like the way this is designed a lot better. I do feel it would be fair between houses, which was sort of my biggest concern. But obviously, no matter what, we've got two separate strong interests. We've got people's interest in having their quiet life that's not disturbed by a bunch of, you know, people traipsing in and out and being extremely loud. And then we also have the interest of people to rent out their property, and we've got, you know, there's a clash between those interests. So we're never going to get it sort of, it's always going to be a balance between those. And I think I like at least the general design of how this is structured a lot better. And it might not be perfect the first time, like we've said. You know, we might get as close as we can, and then it might have to be changed later. But I would like to hear from the full board before doing anything on it.
Well, if it helps make a decision, I can guarantee the best vote tonight will be 4-1. I know who's going to vote no already.
He's a good friend of yours?
Yeah, I know him well. I go home with him.
Well, I think you might be wrong on that. I mean,
No,
I don't think there's four votes.
Pretty sure.
there's not four votes here. And here's the thing. I mean, we can all, this is going to be hard, and I keep pounding this. We can sit there and say there's two people, what?
It already is.
Right, but there's already two people going to be gone next, the next meeting, one person. We have an obligation to do our job. We are board members and we're here. So you know what? Let's do our job and let's place the vote. And if it's got to come back, it's got to come back. I mean, you know, there were some things that I will say that I've learned. I've spent a lot of time on this, and you know I have. I made calls to other municipalities. I went to MTA meetings. And some of the things Mark had asked, Trustee Gopal had asked about complaints. Why now are we getting a lot of complaints where we didn't before, you know, maybe. We've not gotten complaints because really there's no ordinance. There's no demand for Fenton Township right now. And the reason why, because I talked to a lot of investors, and some of them are my partners, and we would never look at a township that doesn't have an ordinance in place. Because what am I going to do? Go buy 4 investment houses, and then this board decides that you no longer can have them in the zoning district that I'm in? As soon as we create an ordinance is when investors are going to look, and that's when it's going to explode. So I was going to address that with Mark, since Mark is not here. And I also disagree, I have a different opinion on, you know, if it's your house, you have the right to do anything you want in it. We don't have the right to burn our houses down. We don't have a right to do almost anything in our own home. We own the land, we think we do, but try not paying your taxes. Somebody will come and get it. So bottom line is we do not have the right. And when I bought my home, I want quiet, like she wants 50,000 acres around her. I just want quiet, peace and quiet. So to me, we can bring this back next meeting, we can bring it back next meeting, but I can tell you right now, we're never going to have a consensus. So I say let's vote on it. Let's vote on it, and if it doesn't pass, we can bring it back. But to tell these constituents that we're going to put it off, and I understand, 2 people are here, they saw it on the agenda.
Well, I'm not castigating them. I don't know what
I
the
know.
circumstances are. You know,
They couldn't make it.
Yeah.
And I understand that. Maybe I can't make it next time. 2 years is a long time, and there's a lot of people out there waiting for decisions. To me, I'll flat out just say it. I am not going to vote for anything that's looser than this, so I will be a no vote from here on out. I have, as supervisor, had to deal with the complaints. I've went and witnessed the complaints. I've witnessed 10 cars in a parking lot, all over the lawn, people complaining, and it's only getting started. If we don't do something, it's going to get worse. So I think we have an obligation as a board to do something. It's not going to be perfect. There's not one municipality I talked to that ever got it right. Most of them passed an ordinance just to get something on the books, and it changed 30 days until they got it perfect. And you know what? None of them are perfect anymore. Most of them are starting to do this. Just like Traverse City, you go up there, Acme County, bottom line is they started out, they gave up 350 permits. Now they are done to ag, to commercial. If it's commercial, you can rent. You can have a short-term rental. Outside of that, it's all gone. So think of all the people that bought 2 years ago when the ordinance said you could do it in residential. Now they have a home that the value went way up because it was an STR, and now they no longer can. So my opinion is we were voted by our constituents to sit in these seats and make tough decisions. Let's make the tough decision. I say we do the vote. Throw sticks at me.
No, I just,
If you want to postpone, set forth the motion for a full board.
all right, I make a motion that we postpone resolution in this matter till we have entire 7 board present.
I'll support.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Clerk Crew, will you please call the roll?
Almost afraid to. Lorraine?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Kessler's absent. Gopel's absent. Tucker?
Yes.
I vote no. Let's get it done with. Reed?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. We will postpone it till the September 3rd meeting, Tom. And if it is moving on. All right. Moving on to the next order of business is unfinished business. We have none. Moving on to new business. This is the concept plan for the Thompson Road Park property. Zoning Administrator Dean, will you review?
All right, so for the past couple of years, Southern Lakes has been looking for a permanent headquarters. Right now they operate out of the schools. And they have an issue where when their programs become successful, the schools try to take them over. So they're looking to have their own headquarters. They had found a different property in the township, but for whatever reason, that property fell through. After that happened, we had some internal discussions with Southern Lakes about the possibility of them having a community center at the dog park property. The original concept plan for the dog park property was more than just a dog park, right? It was a full, active park. Partnering with Southern Lakes would allow us to actually be able to realize that vision. The concept plan that you guys have in front of you, right, is similar, not exact, but has similar concepts to previous concept plans that have been available for the park. Right, it includes the community center, the sport fields, the dog park is maintained, walking paths and parking areas. Approving the concept plan allows the township and Southern Lakes to seek grant funding opportunities. So one of the issues that we have when trying to do parks improvements is, wow, where's the money going to come from, right? I view that's clear that the township's not in favor of doing a millage for parks and recreation. So that leaves grant funding. Well, grant funds require some sort of concept plan. And so again, we have this concept plan for you guys to consider. You're not approving a final plan, right? Any improvements would still go in front of the planning commission for approval. But you would be approving the concept plan, which, one, is consistent with the master plan. It's also consistent with the Parks and Rec plan that was adopted, I think, 2 years ago. And so it would allow the township and Southern Lakes to begin seeking funding to provide parks and recreation opportunities in the township.
Thanks, Mike. All right, any questions or comments from the board?
Is it clear that we are not interested in a millage?
It's
I mean,
been thrown to the park committee. I mean,
I would certainly entertain the idea because we have land to do it with.
Well, but I would think even if we move forward with this concept, I mean, we're not locked in, right? I mean, we could apply for some grants, and then if we got close, maybe then we could go to the constituents and say, hey, we've got X number in grants, and we could supplement with a millage.
Because we're thinking about this location, but we own some other properties, you know, if we had an income stream. And I don't know if people are in favor or not. That's, I mean, I don't care what my opinion is. I'm interested in what, you know, the township residents think. But it seems like it would be nice to have a revenue source to do that kind of development. Because this park has languished because of a lack of funds. I mean, it's certainly 1,000 times better than the empty field that was there. It's moved. But, you know, if you want what people typically think of as a park, that takes money to do and money to maintain, and people may be willing to do that. But then you might get more people that want to move there because they got great parks. You know, it's a catch-22, and I don't know, you know, what you want to do.
well, in essence, moving forward with Southern Lakes, in essence, we would be because they are funded by.
Yeah, right. That's where they get their money.
That's where they get their money.
But they're not using that money. They're talking about grants. I mean,
No. We are working, Mike has been working with our grant writers for grants for the park. But most of the grants that are out there, well, all of them, I guess I would be safe to say all of them require, you know,
matching funds?
Multi-jurisdiction. I mean, it requires bigger participation than going in as Fenton Township. We might be able to pick up $100,000, but if we want millions to do a park, then it has to be something that is Linden, the county. It's got to be bigger, and so.
And Southern Lakes does have a fund to contribute, so whether it be used for matching funds or the like. And we know that comes up a lot in grants, where you get X number of dollars if you can match.
Put in.
So,
Yep. And again, this is just a concept plan, just giving us the opportunity to go out and seek those grants.
I don't have a problem with approving the concept plan so that we can seek grants. Just as a tennis fan, I'm a little pained by the pickleball courts there. But,
I caught that.
Yeah, it hurts
I really did, because I'm a tennis person too.
Hurts my little tennis soul, but
again, I think,
guess theoretically in some world where, you know, we get tons of funding and there's a free park there, I guess, you know, maybe the pickleball players will leave the tennis courts alone, they'll go over to the pickleball courts, and then I can reconcile that, I can sleep at night.
well, I think too that Southern Lakes looked at it with the township and said, you know, it still has to be
it's just
revenue neutral.
Yes.
You know, they can't pour $50 million into tennis courts,
Yes,
but nobody's willing to play on the courts. So that's really where the concept comes in.
I understand.
Yes, Bob.
I've said it all before, so I'll try to be short.
Sorry.
Or I can go up and give my 3 pages of comments. This was initially designed for a park for kids. Football fields, soccer fields, ball diamonds. They even had a ball diamond designed where you could move in or out the home run fence for kids. The other was a walk around the pond out there, which is a nice pond, by the way. And have picnic areas, a table here and there. And by moving this under the guise of we're doing it for everybody, we're not. And I know I'm going to step on toes, but it's not the first time. Southern Lakes, in my opinion, is well beyond what they were elected to do many years ago. They are not doing what the people voted on. And on that, I'm saying, if the funds are out there, why don't we go make it a park for the kids? To hell with tennis, excuse me. Pickleball. I don't know how you hit a pickle that much. You know, it's kids were supposed to be there. You know, we did get enough volunteers and volunteer money to create a dog park. Probably one of the more successful things we've done lately, we being the township. And I really don't want to give up that concept, but I already know how the vote's going to go, so. But just consider that when we start going from what we initially planned to a future plan, there's a lot of aw hex. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Any other questions or comments?
Well, as I understand it, it's a concept plan, right? I mean, that concept can change.
It would have to change. Got to go through planning just like anything else.
I mean, you could implement the things, because I agree with you. I mean, I don't know the logistics. I wasn't involved with the design. You know, I hope smarter people than me were involved with that. But again, the concept isn't necessarily the finished product. And if the idea of the concept is to raise funds so that you can turn it into something, I think that would be a good starting place. I think you can do that, Bob, without abandoning, you know, what it is that your vision for that area. Because you were gracious and said the township did this, but Bob Krug strapped this on his back and carried that one home. You know, so
it's just something that, and I'll be obvious, maybe it's needed, but I don't want it there.
Well, we have other land.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I guess I would be in favor of just approving a concept plan, knowing that that's exactly what it is, to see what kind of cash we can get.
I can get you copies of the concept.
Oh, I saw it. I was there.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember. Tony Brown was here. We were teasing him about some
Yep.
of the stuff that was in there. We had a sledding hill. We had,
Lawrence's did it for us.
Yeah.
I totally agree with Bob. I was here when it started, and when I saw an opportunity when Southern Lakes didn't move forward with the other location, I looked at the park that's been there, and it is, I think, the dream of everybody up here is having a park. I mean, I envision having an amazing park that kids from all over the county are coming here. And a reason that my daughter would want to raise her kids here is because we have this great park. And so what happened, yeah, there you go. And so, someday.
You can borrow mine.
So I approached Southern Lakes. I approached Ed and said, what's your thoughts? Because I knew that they had lost a home. I understand completely, and I think we can build a park that everybody in this township would be proud of. Again, how that morphs and changes, but I know this, for 8 years we haven't done anything with it, and it's a dream, but it's hard to raise money right now. We're never going to get the money, Bob, to do anything with it. Not even to put it, you have to have, in order to get money, you have to have a paved driveway. In order to do that, you have to have lights. So you start out, and you think, wow, I can do this for $50,000. By the time you get to your first grant for 200, we have to invest $500,000. Our residents aren't gonna go for $500,000. And I'm not exaggerating the dollars, Mike's been through this. So the thing is that you think about putting together a concept plan. That concept plan is $5 to $8 million. In order to do that, we gotta go out and raise major money. We got to have a commitment from the county for millions of dollars. So again, this is just getting us started, and I want you to understand that. I understand Bob's feelings. I think we all up here want what Bob wants. I mean, that's what we want the park for. How it morphs in the future, but right now I'm hoping that the board would, at least consider this. And, I think it's a way to take something that could sit another 8 years, or in 2 or 3 years, we could have 1,000 people sitting in that park using it every day. And that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And, the dog park, it's my understanding, the dog park is going to stay.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what was there originally. We're kind of building around the dog park. And I think a lot of people use it, and it's a good thing. And this is sort of a pie in the sky concept, right? Throw in everything you want. Put it all in your bucket list. And then, you think about the things you would be willing to compromise on. Maybe we can't afford it all, right? Maybe we go with something less. And we say, okay, well, this would be really nice, but maybe we could do it somewhere else, or, maybe that doesn't appeal to the masses, and the most kids aren't going to be able to come out and use it. But I agree, it's a concept, and we need to start somewhere, and hopefully we'll get lucky and find some good funding through grants and otherwise. And then we can get into the nitty-gritty, and I understand it needs to come to the planning commission. We could really refine and fine-tune the concept of what is going to appeal most and be used the most by the residents.
Yeah, the dollars are going to establish the reality.
Exactly.
Right. And that's what I want everybody here to understand.
Yep.
Really, we can vote this down, but Mike and I, we can't do anything more with our grant writers.
Right.
There is no options. With this, and being that the county is involved, it's multi-jurisdictional, it's the county, it's big money. And there's money out there. So I thought, as supervisor, that to develop that park and get it done would be one of the greatest things that this township, or this board could do for the township. And where it started in the vision, but it's time to move on it and get it moving. So that's just my 2 cents again. So.
I mean, I agree with that, and actually, pickleball aside, I look at this and I see a bunch of things that kids would be using. If in some dream world we got a lot of these things, I see, baseball, volleyball, basketball, like these are a bunch of kids playing together in one spot. I imagine they would be the people who would use it.
Well, you have to remember Southern Lakes does all these classes for schools.
Yeah, it's not
so
like...
these programs are ones that they think are going to be able to be successful with kids.
Yeah, it looks to me like it'd be nice for a kid.
All right, any other questions or comments? If not, a motion is in order to approve the concept plan for the Thompson Road Park property as presented.
So moved.
Support.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Krug, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Reed,
Yes.
Gopel is absent, Tucker,
Yes.
Kessler is absent, Lorraine,
Yes.
Krug votes no, Kotrick.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thanks, Bob. All right, next under new business, resolution number 2024-34. This is the Genesee County Road Commission's permit for the Lake Fenton High School Homecoming Parade. The Lake Fenton High School wishes to hold their annual homecoming parade along Torrey Road between North Long Lake and Laring Road again this year. The date of the parade is Friday, October 4th, so put that on your calendar. The Genesee County Road Commission requires the Township Board to authorize the appropriate application. A resolution has been prepared for that authorization. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, the resolution number 2024-34. Clerk Krug, will you please present the resolution?
Yes, authorizes Lake Fenton Community Schools to make application to Genesee County Road Commission on behalf of the township for a permit to hold Lake Fenton High School Homecoming Parade on Friday, October 4th, between the hours of 4 and 6, within the right-of-way of Torrey Road between North Road and Laring Road. I'll move the resolution.
I'll support.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Krug, will you please call the roll?
Kotrick,
Yes.
Kestler's absent. I vote yes. Gopel's absent. Tucker,
Yes.
Lorraine,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
resolution passes.
All right, thanks, Bob. All right, resolution number, next under new business is resolution number 2024-35, proposed street lighting special assessment district, Cider Creek. Operations Manager Broker will review.
Yes, the developer of Cider Creek contacted the township and submitted a special assessment petition to create a street lighting special assessment district for the first phase of the development. So what we have before us is a resolution to schedule a hearing on the creation of that district at our next meeting.
Thanks, Tom. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
Developer owns all the units still?
Yes,
Should be a quiet meeting.
it's the right way to do it.
All right, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, resolution number 2024-35. Clerk Krug, will you please present the resolution?
Yes, tentatively declares the township's intent to install and operate streetlights in the first phase of Cedar Creek condominium subdivision. Tentatively designates a special assessment district as the Cedar Creek / street lighting special assessment district, which includes Unit 1 to 30 of the Cedar Creek condominium subdivision. Schedule a public hearing on September 3rd, 2024 at the regular township board meeting. Directs the clerk to publish and mail the hearing notice in accordance with statute, repeals any conflicting resolutions. I'll move the resolution.
Support.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Krug, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Gopel's absent. Tucker,
Yes.
Lorraine,
Yes.
Kotrick,
Yes.
I vote yes. Reed,
Yes.
Kessler's absent. Resolution passes.
All right, thanks, Bob. All right, moving on to board comment. Is there anyone on the board that has any additional comments or concerns? All right, I do want to bring up tonight that if you recall, the Township Board adopted a resolution at the July 30th meeting to recommend approval of a Class C liquor license for the Fenton Village Players. It's been brought to our attention that the property immediately adjacent to the Fenton Village Players property is in the process of changing its use from a consignment store to an early childhood development center. An attorney representing the owner of that property contacted me and is asking the board to consider rescinding their adoption of the resolution due to the proximity of this school to the Fenton Village Players. We did receive a letter from the attorney. Tom, would you read that, please?
Yeah, I'll just kind of paraphrase. The letter from the attorney representing Rosebrook Child Development Center, which will be located next door to the Fenton Village Players venue. They're objecting to the township's resolution supporting the issuance of a liquor license for the Fenton Village Players and asking the township to reverse their previous action. The letter references a provision in the Michigan Liquor Control Code that applications will be denied if the location is within 500 feet of a school, church or school building, and the letter goes on to cite legal precedents for why this child development center would be considered as a school under that Michigan Liquor Control Code. There are other details in the letter, but that's kind of the quick version of what they're asking for.
All right, just for informational purposes, because I think it's fair to the board does not have to rescind the adoption. We should consider it, I believe, if you feel that your vote would have changed. I think that they may lose anyway, but if we would have had the knowledge of knowing that it was next to a school, it's more than likely going to get it rejected. I think as a board, if you feel your vote would have changed, then we should at least, or I would like to entertain a motion to consider rescinding the adoption.
Yeah. I think my vote would have changed. I just did want to confirm one detail from the letter. They said that they had already received approvals for their operation and redevelopment of the building, including township approvals, was that was
Yes.
true?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe they still have a COO, still has not been issued, but I believe that everything's pretty close.
But what we're talking about is building permit.
The state. Yeah, we're talking about building permits.
So from our perspective, right, they haven't applied for their business license yet, but it's a permitted use in the zoning district. They meet all the standards, so there's no reason why it wouldn't be issued. They don't have final CFO. They have outstanding electrical permits, which, you know, just is. There's no reason why they won't get final approval when they're ready for those inspections.
All right, yeah, I was just trying to confirm that we
Nope.
knew it was already, we already knew it was gonna be a school on some level, not like individually we each knew, but,
Yeah.
because, you know, if the liquor license were before, you know, if the school thing were rushed after, which obviously I don't think it is, then it wouldn't change my vote, but as is, yeah, I did not know this, and it would have definitely changed my vote.
So from the zoning ordinance perspective, right, it is a child care center.
Yeah.
Under that definition, nursery schools and pre-kindergarten are included in that.
Yeah.
And that's their intent, right? It's pre-K and below. If they were to have kindergarten and above, then they would need a special use permit from the planning commission.
Okay.
So with all this, it's my understanding that they're operating under a child care development center, right? So of which nursery school falls under.
So, again, we don't have to do this, but, you know, if you feel that it would have changed your decision, then I would entertain a motion. So does anyone want to make a motion? Or I'll entertain a motion.
Well, I'll just comment before I get to that point. I did not know that there was going to be a school there. There still isn't a school there, okay? There's going to be a school there, and it presents an interesting question at the Michigan Liquor Control Commission level when the application for the transfer of the license gets reviewed. Now, that's the lawyer that loves the academic, you know, fineness of the issues that are involved here. The practical reality is if they are that close to opening, that transfer is dead on arrival, not by anything we do, but by virtue of what liquor control's own rules are.
Well, so for liquor control rules, there's...
Mike? Okay. No, go ahead.
All right, so the first one says, you know, if they're within 500 feet,
Yeah.
it'll be denied. Then you get the 4, says, well, they may waive them, and then if a school or church doesn't object, they can be approved. If they do object, there is a hearing involved with it. So there is a mechanism. So having said that, I think what's important is that you didn't have a full picture of what was being presented when you made your decision, right? So I think that should be what you're weighing your decision on, not necessarily what the Liquor Commission can or can't do.
I'm put in a position of can't win here.
It would have changed yours?
Yep.
You want to set forth a motion, or does anybody want to set forth? I will entertain.
So interestingly, I did not vote on that. So you're asking whether or not my vote would have changed, and I wasn't at that meeting. So I don't know what position
Would you have
that
voted no
puts
if
me
you
in.
knew there
don't want
was
to do
a...
that. Don't want to do that.
Yeah,
Do we?
I don't know because I didn't hear the entire presentation.
Well, nobody said anything about there being a school.
Right.
And it's a good, solid, local community organization that has fundraising in mind.
Right.
You know, this puts me in a very awkward position because I don't want to tell, you know, the Fenton community players, sorry, you know, you're fundraising for a school that's not even open yet. But by the same token, if somebody had said to me, what I'm hearing tonight, I don't know. That would certainly been a lot. It was a very easy thing. You didn't miss anything trying to decide what to do when you weren't here.
Well, I think it begs the question too. I mean, would everything have been different? Because would Miss McPeak, would she have come to the meeting had she known? And should she have known? I mean, these things are advertised.
Would you like to address that? Would you like to come up, please?
Hi.
If you want to bring your lawyer, you can.
No, we don't allow lawyers in here.
We got enough of them already.
Too many lawyers. You're over the limit. We have a-
Hello, everyone. I am Melanie McPeak. I live on Golden Shore Court, so I am a resident of Fenton Township. Very excited to be bringing a child care center here. I was not aware. I will say I reached out to my neighbors as well, like behind me, and then the foot doctor next door. No one knew of the proposal. I am a huge fan. My children participated in KTK. I love the Fenton Village players. Believe me, my concern is somebody else coming in and buying that building and turning it into a bar or something. Like, that's what one of the things, and besides, I know legally we're not supposed to have that. I know that they are a great place. And so, but for me, I know I would have been here. If I knew that, I know that I can't have liquor served within 500 feet of my building. So I found out about it the next weekend at the Island Picnic. Somebody told me about it. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you very much, Ajay. Board, I certainly will entertain questions if you want to
Tom,
ask.
do we not notice those other than the agenda? There's no mailing notice?
No,
requirement?
there's no notice requirement for that.
So there's no way really for her to have known?
Unless she's watching, I mean, it's in the agenda in the public information package.
Conversely, there's no way for us to have known.
If I may, I do have a question, and I understand because I know you have a lot of people buying businesses, but I feel like I've done so much through the township since January in buying that business and being in here. That isn't like a common knowledge of people that are purchasing businesses in the area to not know that a child care center was coming. That wouldn't be something that everybody would, okay.
I drive by your building at least a dozen times in a week. I live off Crane.
Oh, I know where you live, yes.
And
oh, Bob.
Oh.
I used to be your neighbor. I was your
I know,
neighbor.
yeah. I was gonna say, whoa, I hadn't even said anything yet. I've been wondering.
Lieutenant's in the back here.
What was gonna go into that building? I thought it was gonna be another shop like it was previously. So, I mean.
And I do want to, I want to say, and I went with the building that was existing. I wanted to build, but it would have been involving taking away a lot of, you know, so we went with what you had existing, and I'm excited to be bringing it here.
Well, I can say this, I will step up as the board. I had heard through the process, again, it goes through zoning and things that I, on a daily basis, am not involved in. But I guess I've learned a lesson also, and I've sat in this chair for almost 4 years, that, you know, if I would have known, it would have changed, certainly would have changed my vote, and I'll just say that. So if you would have been here at that meeting, you know, we should probably maybe send out, or at least make sure that before we issue a Class C liquor license, that the supervisor does a little more due diligence.
Well, I don't blame the supervisor.
No, I'm taking the blame.
No, you don't have to fall on the sword. I mean, it does seem like the township should have known.
Yes.
And it should have been mentioned as part of the process before we got to that point, but.
Would it help if I made a motion that we rescind the liquor license we granted or permitted?
Just a recommendation is
players?
all we got.
Recommendation.
You want to rescind resolution 2024-27.
27.
That's what I said, yeah.
Is that appropriate to do without the applicant?
Applicant
Yep, just what I
was
said.
notified.
This will be discussed.
Have you discussed it with the community players at all?
No, I have not.
Okay.
No.
We didn't, Tom, did you get affirmation that they received your email?
I did not get a response as of 5 o'clock, but I sent it early today.
Have we sent out the approval? Have
No.
they received it? So it hasn't even went out of the office yet?
No.
Okay. Okay, there's a motion. Is there a motion on the table?
Yep.
I'll support.
Motion.
So I would like to abstain from voting on that motion because I wasn't involved in the process when it was approved, and this has just been handed to me. So I would love to have a little time to actually think about it and look into the issue if that's appropriate.
I'm not going to let you abstain, so I don't know about the board.
You can only abstain if it's a financial.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't think you legally can.
Well,
in order to abstain, you have to have the board allowing, they have to vote to allow
Yes,
you
I
to
understand
abstain.
that, yep.
Well, I empathize with your position, so
I
I'm
do
going
too.
to I'm going to make a motion. Well, actually, we have a motion on the table.
We got a motion on the table.
Yeah.
Well, if you could make a better one with.
Well, I'm just going to move to postpone. Again, we got the same problem. We got two people that aren't here. We got an applicant was just notified today. I mean, I'm telling you, there's a school going to be here. The fine line that it's not actually here yet is entertaining probably only to me in this room, but that makes the issue more interesting. But it's easy enough. The letter hasn't gone out. We just hold on to it. We get 7 people here. You get a chance to think about it. We get a chance to hear from the other side. You get a chance to get your building open because there's nothing that's going to happen at liquor
We were shut down by the
control.
township for a month, or else we would be open by now. That's why, I guess, because, you know, when you and I spoke back in July 3rd, so I know like you and I talked, we knew Rosebrook was coming. When I was, you know, when you guys were in the transition of getting a contractor now that does my.
Well, even knowing that, you'd have to know that it would be a prohibition within 500 feet. And Roger Isaac probably knows that. He's the guy that does every liquor license in the county, but there's not a lot of people that would know that because you were doing what you were doing, that they couldn't have a liquor license there. And I've done 10 in 40 years. I don't do a lot of them, but, you know, I don't know that. So nobody's at fault, Vince. You don't have to fall on the sword for this. But I'm caught in a position, because I don't think it matters, whether we rescind or don't rescind. I don't think it makes a boo's worth of difference, because I think it's dead on arrival at the Liquor Control Commission level. But I don't know that I want to take that chance either, knowing now what I know.
Yeah, personally.
That's the important thing.
I would.
What do we as a board, to our constituents, what do we say if we don't take this vote?
Personally, I
That's
guess I would like to rescind it because it's not just like a legal like technicality that I agree that schools shouldn't be next to venues with alcohol. So it's not just kind of a legal technicality. That's definitely not how I would have voted if I know, which I didn't. I drove by, but I didn't have any idea.
Jack, motion's on the table, what do we do?
Well, I supported it.
Vote on it.
Or
Is
what-
it-
which one?
Unless somebody withdraws it, but other than that.
I guess we had two.
We have a second.
Yeah, we have a second. Kate seconded.
Okay.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Any further questions or concerns? Hearing none, Clerk Krug, will you please call the roll?
Kessler's absent. Reed? I'll go Lorraine.
Yes.
No, I'll go. I mean, we.
No,
We
that
need
was.
to go in that order, right? I mean, it's random.
No, it isn't.
Yes.
I vote yes. Contract?
Yes.
Tucker?
No.
You're pulling a bomb. Gopel's absent. Motion passes.
Did you vote? You didn't vote.
Vince? Yeah, I did.
Did you?
Yeah, he voted yes.
Did he?
I didn't get to that.
Lorraine didn't get a vote? Everybody got the vote? I thought we were missing one.
Did it pass?
It did.
Just
Or
for
didn't?
Yes, it did, 4-1.
All right. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Mhm. All right, next business order is public comment on agenda or non-agenda items. We will now open up the meeting for public comment on agenda or non-agenda items. The board does ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anybody in the,
Gentleman back there.
I'm just trying to, I've emailed this to you, Vince, and I
Okay.
don't know if anybody's heard of it, but the Michigan Court of Appeals holds that short-term rentals violate residential use restrictions. And the article is sent to your email. I sent it also to Mike Deem, and I forget who else I sent it to, just today.
I was going to say, I have not read it today.
I just...
So, could you read that back?
It says, the Michigan Court of Appeals holds that short-term rental use violates residential use. It's a whole big article on it, and a couple cases.
You sent that to me?
Yeah, I did.
Perfect.
I
So
did.
we
It's on your
did
email.
postpone that, and hopefully we will have, hopefully we'll have a full board meeting at the next meeting. Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Did you have was there a source on the?
A site or anything?
I will have Tom send it out to the full board tomorrow.
Okay, all right, thank you.
He should have it.
Or I'll send it out to the full board tomorrow.
I think Mike's got it on his.
Thank you.
Mike, bring it up before you leave.
All right, any other Residents in the audience would like to address the board? She's back. No, it's great.
Well, I am new to town relatively, and it's just something that's kind of makes me scratch my head. So I don't know what do we need to do or what impetus needs to happen to get the dirt road between Ralston and Silver Lake on Ripley paved.
You need to go to the city of Linden and talk to them about it.
Yep, because that's in the city of Linden.
So the property on Silver Lake that is going to be apartments that I saw the proposal for,
Fenton Township.
and the Ripley Road, Ralston Road farm that we've been talking about are Fenton Township.
Correct.
But the road connecting them is Linden.
Yeah, not quite exactly right, but you got the idea. So here's the deal. If you go the stretch you're talking about, the east side of that road is Fenton Township, the west side of that road is Village of Linden. But as between the township and the village, the township has taken charge of the mile where the development is being proposed, and the city has taken charge of the mile that you're talking about. So
Well, I'm just talking about the two ends that are dirt. I just want them paved.
I know.
What do we need to
And
do?
you gotta go to the city of Linden, because we don't control that, they do, just by intergovernmental agreement.
Anytime there is a road that is a boundary line, such as Ripley Road, then the right-of-way for each segment is assigned to one or the other. So the right-of-way from Ralston to Laring is Fenton Township's right-of-way, even though a significant portion of the west side is the city of Linden. The opposite is true for the segment from Ralston to Silver Lake. That is the city of Linden's right-of-way, even though on the east side we have Fenton Township properties. So we've paid to pave Ripley Road, our piece of it, a couple of times over the years without any involvement from the city. If that road is going to be improved, it will be the city doing it, not the township, because it's their right-of-way, their responsibility.
So there's no way to work Mr. Lorraine's magic with the government and that new thing that
I can certainly make that call, but it's, again, the process really has to be started through there.
You know, tap into Biden's infrastructure plan to get some money.
Oh, I've tapped into a lot of that.
I know, for Thompson Road and all that. That's what I was wondering. You seem to have the phone numbers, so I was just wondering if there was some way we could just get that magic working for that dirt road.
All right.
So, no, huh? Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you very much.
No pressure.
Oh, that's awesome. Anybody else that would like to address the board that's here in attendance tonight? Hearing none, I will move on to Zoom. Is there anyone that is present via Zoom that would like to address the board on agenda or non-agenda items? Raise your hand, take off mute. Hearing none. All right. So let me see here. Nobody else is. It is now 8:37 p.m. Thank you everyone for coming tonight. You stuck out a long meeting, and it is now, like I said, 8:37 p.m. And if there's nothing else, I say good night and the meeting's adjourned.
Good job.